South Carolina's controversial school bathroom law is now in effect tonight. It got slipped into the state budget and requires students to use bathrooms based on their biological sex. WCNC Charlotte, Julia Kaufman joining us in studio. And Julia, this is something you've been following for months now.
Yeah, Colin, I mean, just a couple months ago, state lawmakers worked on that legislation. And at the same time, the Rock Hill School Board created its own policy with the same wording. Now, other districts are going to have to follow suit to keep vital state funding.
We are voting to approve it on a 1 year.
The Rock Hill School Board passed its bathroom policy on Thursday, 4-2.
Most of the discussion and the concerns that we've heard is coming from a standpoint of privacy concerns and safety and security.
Board Chair Helena Miller says the district policy is temporary, like the state law. Since it's a budget proviso, it can only last for the current fiscal year.
We don't know what the legislature is going to do over the coming year. You know, there may be a bill proposed to make this permanent law. We've seen that with other things.
Several red states have these bathroom laws, which are widely opposed by LGBTQIA advocates.
I think it's so unfortunate that we're focused on stuff like this when really what trans youth in our schools need is mental health support. They need access to community. They need resources.
Ivy Hill with Southern Equality wants trans students to know they are not alone.
These bills send a really terrible message to you, trying to tell you that you're less than human, that you don't deserve the same access to public space as anybody else, and that is absolutely not true.
The Rock Hill School Board was seeking legal advice on whether it could pass a bathroom policy as federal regulations ban it. But now that the state law is in effect, Miller says they moved forward to comply.
If there are legal challenges on the proviso, that is for the state legislature to deal with, quite frankly.
Several state attorneys general, including South Carolina's, are challenging the federal regulations that ban bathroom policies in court. Colin?
Interesting stuff. That's not all tonight here, Julia. There's a number of new laws on the books in North Carolina. We've talked about most of these in the past, but one of those makes it illegal to wear a mask during a protest. Another requires each county to maintain an updated list of eligible voters and remove those who have died or were convicted of a felony. And a controversial law will now have 16 and 17-year-olds charged with felony crimes start in Superior Court instead of juvenile court. We have a full list of these new laws now in the books on WCNC.com. Well, tonight, home ownership disparities continue here and across our country. According to real estate company Zillow, nearly 1 in 4 black applicants are denied a mortgage. That's more than twice as often as white applicants. That's how we start the news at 5:30. I'm Colin Mayfield.
And I'm Vanessa Rufus. WCNC Charlotte's Jane Monreal spoke to a local housing assistance expert about the resources out there so would-be buyers aren't left asking, where's the money?
Patrick Crockett moved to Charlotte from Augusta, Georgia in 2016.
Fell in love with the people because Charlotte is like city and southern mixed together, and it's just an amazing feel.
After graduating from Queen's University and landing a job with Atrium Health, he knew he wanted to put down some roots.
I put in an offer and just heard no, and literally just there's a lot of different no's.
When I hear that 1 in 4 Black North Carolinians can't get into a home, it doesn't surprise me.
Erin Barbie is the Chief Strategy Officer at Dream Key Partners, the former Charlotte-Mecklenburg Housing Partnership, now in its 35th year of addressing the need for affordable housing. She says there are multiple reasons people of color believe they can't buy a home.
People think I need to be able to afford a $500,000 house in Charlotte in order to get a home. So that's number one. A lot of debt, right? Their debt-to-income ratio is quite high, and banks frown upon that. And also, people are challenged with down payment assistance. They don't have that large chunk of change just sitting in their bank account ready to buy a home. And when you put all of those factors together, it feels like no, no, no.
Barbie says there are resources. The first step?
Saying, how can you help me? And we figure a plan out for them.
That's what a determined Crockett did when he signed up with Dream Key Partners. First, by learning how to improve his debt-to-credit ratio, leading to a more desirable credit score. Then,
I can stop eating out so much, stop doing this, doing that, and just put it into an account. And over a matter of time, I'm like, wow.
Crockett was able to buy his townhouse in 2022.
The house that I'm in, it's beautiful. I got amazing neighbors, amazing cul-de-sac.
I'm so proud of Patrick. He was resilient. He heard a lot of no's, which a lot of our customers do. And he said, I am going to get to a yes.
Well, Barbie says in addition to providing education, down payment assistance, and counseling, Dream Key Partners also builds homes. So if you go through their program, you can have access to homes that are not on MLS, which means you don't have to compete for a home. And that makes for better access to an affordable home. Guys?
Yeah, everybody just wants something that is theirs. Yeah, Jane, thank you.
With your help, WCNC Charlotte is making a difference in our community.
Beautiful day, so many people helping. This is incredible.
Let's spread that love tonight.
Here is a $5,000 check that you guys can use to further the mission.
There is nothing on earth like the feeling of giving back with your hands.
$5,000 to you and Block Love Charlotte for what you guys do.
If you'd like to make a difference, go to WCNC.com/make-a-difference now.
They're called bolts from the blue, and they're unexpected lightning strikes that can impact people outside the perceived risk area.
When thunder roars, go indoors, a phrase to take seriously due to a weather phenomenon known as bolts from the blue. It happens when lightning strikes miles away from the apparent thunderstorm. In some cases, lightning can impact a location with sunny skies, some 10 to 20 miles away from the clouds and the rain associated with the core of the storm. The positive charge usually originates on the outskirts of the thunderstorm at the top part of the cloud that spreads out horizontally called the anvil. These positive strikes are more powerful and can last longer.
These are examples of bolts from the blue in Charlotte. The flash away from the storm is circled in blue. Bolts from the blue emphasizes the unpredictable nature of where lightning will land and further supports why we should be weather aware. Even if a storm seems a good distance away, it may be time for you and your family to head indoors to avoid bolts from the blue. I'm meteorologist KJ Jacobs, WCNC Charlotte.
Tonight, about 1 in 6 children in North Carolina are not sitting down to a warm meal. And we know this problem only worsens during the summer months when school is out. And there's a Mooresville group that's trying to seek solutions to food insecurity here at home.
Yeah, just a few hours ago, actually, WCNC Charlotte's Julia Kaufman got a first-hand look at how a nonprofit is feeding families in high-risk areas.
Feed NC's dining room fills up with families in the summer, so they're providing free meals on wheels.
We knew that a lot of those kids did not have the capacity to get to the dining room, especially if mom and dad are working.
Their food truck launched this summer.
Yeah, it helps my mom a lot.
Helping Mooresville families like April Ford's.
We have a big family, so we don't want to waste food and, have to make a bunch of sandwiches.
CEO Laura Ingram says the truck feeds about 100 children a week.
I do feel like we're filling a gap for people that's coming sort of right into their neighborhood.
This food truck not only keeps hungry kids fed during the summer, but it also helps local grocery stores cut down on food waste.
The majority of the food from Second Harvest and that we distribute would end up in a dumpster. So we're just very happy that it would provide, a child or a family food.
Volunteers get to know families.
I would just get juice and chips.
In hopes of building trust.
The idea is that they would then be able to come in and receive additional services at Feed NC.
Ingram hopes word will spread so more children can get food. She says Feed NC is always looking for volunteers. Julia Kaufman, WCNC Charlotte.
WCNC Charlotte is always looking to highlight how communities are tackling local problems themselves, just like the story you saw. Let us know what you're seeing in your neighborhood. Email us at newstips@wcnc.com.
Verify, WCNC Charlotte.
Verify is all about trying to make a difference in the community by making sure that the community has the correct information. This is what we know, and hey, this is what we don't know. Sometimes you're actually surprised by the answer.
Verify the difference.
Verify is a great way to combat that misinformation, making sure that people know the process of the reporting.
Time now to connect the dots when we make the news make sense.
The Olympics are now a little more than 3 weeks away, and fans should expect some major changes to the way you watch.
NBC is changing the way it broadcasts the games, but not without mixed reaction. Let's connect the dots. In the past, NBC would only broadcast the biggest events in U.S. primetime slots, regardless of what time they originally happened. This often meant people couldn't watch events live or already knew the results before it aired. But this year, there will be 2 daily shows. The first will be in the middle of the day with live broadcasts for popular sports like swimming or gymnastics. The second will be later in the day during prime time with a look at the day's best action. And cable and satellite viewing isn't your only option this year. For the first time ever, fans also have the option to watch every single event live. All you need to do is subscribe to Peacock. And that's connecting the dots.
Well, these days, just about everything costs more, from mortgages to groceries. That's why the Urban League of Central Carolinas is seeking solutions by matching people with quality paying jobs. The goal of this workforce development training isn't just about job placement, but economic empowerment.
So I've been in the telecommunications industry for about 25 years.
Adrienne Muhammad's career journey was going as planned until she hit an unexpected bump, getting laid off in October.
And it's like, what now?
Yeah.
I've been working since I was a teenager, so I didn't necessarily want to do the same thing. I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to be intentional about what that next move was going to be.
That next move came as she attended her daughter's graduation from the Urban League of Central Carolinas Workforce Development Training.
And they had a speaker from the HVAC class that was really impactful, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm going to do HVAC.
So Adrienne signed up that day.
When she came to the graduation, the previous graduation, she was like, Ty, I'm getting in your class. And she did it. So when she showed up, I was like, okay, well, let me see how this goes. But from day one, man, she just been like the person that is ready to go.
Adrienne is one of more than 100 graduates that completed 10 weeks of workforce development training in HVAC, electrical, and certified nursing assisted trades.
So seeing the progression and seeing the upward mobility of her is fulfilling, and it's why we do what we do. So we have 50 more stories like that from our students, from our previous graduates, from our current graduates.
In 10 weeks, we can't teach them everything. But what I can do is make sure that their foundation is super solid in heating and air and electrical, also teaching them the soft skills.
Robin Lake Hamilton, president and CEO of Urban League of Central Carolinas, says the program offers more than just jobs.
I think about economic stability, okay, financial stability, right? The ability to make choices for yourself and your family. It's about choices. It's about access.
She says they have a wait list of more than 400 people to get into workforce training.
Because it's programming that not only will give you a new skill, but I tell people it really does lead you to possibly economic freedom.
Long term, I do want to start a business. I do want to have something to share.
Shout out Adrienne. And Adrienne's class, which graduated back in May, was the largest cohort in the Urban League's history. She says her nephew has now signed up for the program and hopes to start a business one day with him. For a closer look at the program, head over to WCNC.com or the WCNC Charlotte News app.
Now turning back to the serious situation unfolding right now in the Caribbean. At this hour, Hurricane Beryl remains a Category 5 storm. Now for some context here, folks, this is the earliest Cat 5 on record. Right now, Beryl is charging towards Jamaica after decimating the Windward Islands. This is some of the video we're getting in showing the wind there. So far, at least 2 people have been killed. Let's go ahead and bring in meteorologist Chris Mulcahy. Keeping an eye on the tropics. I mean, this is awfully early to see a storm this strong.
2 months ahead of schedule, Ben. 2 months ahead of schedule that we usually see our first major hurricane. Also, Category 5s don't usually happen this time of year. The last time that we did this, 2005, that was the year of Katrina. Let's get right to the big info. The most recent update was at 11 a.m. Now it's going to be at the point every 3 hours there'll be an update. Once it gets within 24 hours of Jamaica, we're going to really see these hourly updates. The peak this morning was 165 mile per hour winds. Now it's 160. Once it goes to 155, it's a strong Category 4, and that's likely going to happen a little bit later on today. Winds at 140, still a strong Category 4 hurricane. But then once it drops down below that 130 mark, then we're going to be talking about Category 3. That's still still a major hurricane. And the way that this works is this is going to be the rotation, so it goes counterclockwise. So once the winds line up with the direction it's going, that's called the dirty side of the storm. So that means the southern part of Jamaica is not only going to have the strongest part of the hurricane, it's going to be the strongest part of a major hurricane. This is a deadly, deadly storm, and I hate to see it this time of year. Thoughts and prayers for Jamaica over the next 24 to 36 hours. It'll be much weaker still as a hurricane, likely passing the Yucatan Peninsula and then moving into the central parts of Mexico as a tropical storm. This is going to be a historic one, and the way that it's shaping up could be our first retired name of 2024. Of course, we won't find out that for about another year or so. We're just beginning the season where Category 5s have only happened 41 times since 1924. So the last time, Emily, 2005 is a name that refused to be retired, but that hit a peak of 160 mile-per-hour winds. By the way, 165 mile-per-hour winds, that ties for the 25th strongest storm any time of year, regardless of the time. So it's only twice in history that we've had this happen in July. Let's focus in on the good. It's today. The pick of the week is today, where high temperatures are stuck in the mid to the upper 80s. You're going to be begging for a day like this a couple days from now. Yes, the 4th of July is super cool, but it's not going to be cool because temperatures are going to be thriving, jumping up about 10 degrees from where they're at today. 84 in Hickory, 76 near perfection for you up in Boone. We're picking up a few upper level clouds. We'll also have a mix of a few more clouds by the end of the day, but all in all, a sunny to a mostly sunny one, where by the middle of the afternoon, 86 feels like, guess what? 86. That is not something that I am going to be mentioning over the next few afternoons because the temperature is going to be skewed because of how humid it's really going to be. Lows over the next 4 mornings. It was cool this morning. It'll be cool tomorrow morning. Then temperatures are right back to the lower 70s where we reasonably see them this time of year on Thursday, and then the mid 70s on Friday and Saturday. So our hour by hour temperature forecast for tomorrow, it's starting to feel a little bit more roasty. Temperatures back into the lower 90s, and yeah, winds anywhere from about 4 to 8 miles per hour. But our dew point forecast, this is the big one. It's going to be thriving, jumping up to that air you can wear status by your 4th of July, and we'll stick that status heading into the weekend. That also correlates with our rain chances, where Friday and the 4th might have an isolated storm, but it's really Saturday through Monday that you have a scatter to a likely chance for these storms. So here's what it looks like. Popping up a storm or two. This is 1 o'clock on the 4th. Maybe a quick downpour, but most of the areas you can see should be just fine. So you're going to be unlucky if your grill gets poured on, but if it does happen, it shouldn't last long. That's the good news. So our Guy Roofing 7-day forecast shows that we have to be weather aware for excessive heat and humidity Thursday through this coming Saturday. Still a chance for storms heading to early next week.
Weather impacts everything. Stay prepared with WCNC Charlotte's Weather Impact Team.
That is one ominous looking storm.
Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich and the entire Weather Impact Team delivers the win.
Sunday and Wednesday are going to feel the hottest.
The impact.
Winds 60 miles an hour.
And what you need to stay safe and weather aware.
To the interior room, away from those outside walls and windows.
Stay aware of weather that impacts you by downloading the WCNC News app now.
Community still asking questions tonight after shots rang out at the Wingate University baseball field. The man accused of firing those shots, injuring himself in the process, and is still in a hospital. He's facing several charges more than 24 hours later. WCNC Charlotte's Anna King spoke with an assistant coach who was recounting those scary moments.
The game just starting.
We heard a truck go off the road over the curb down in right field.
Confusion from everyone on the field.
We heard a single gunshot followed by 3 to 5 other gunshots.
And that confusion quickly turning into fear. A shooting Friday night at the Wingate University baseball field had players and attendees all shocked. The suspect, still identified, crashed his car, shot and injured himself, and jumped the fence during an American Legion game.
At that point, he started waving the firearm toward home plate.
And Hunter Hires, the assistant coach, jumped into action.
It was a split-second decision, and I made it right with myself, made it right with the good Lord, and that was it.
Risking his life.
When he jumped the fence, that's when I ran across the diamond, grabbed my firearm, returned to the visiting dugout, and then proceeded out towards him in right field. And that's where everything kind of went down.
By this time, emergency officials were called for shots fired. And he says he and those officials worked to talk down the suspect.
If I could take his attention away from everything that was going on back here where the fans and the kids were, I could control the situation a little bit.
Suspect was quickly subdued and has since been transported to a local medical facility in critical condition.
It's a tough situation, definitely not something you don't think is going to happen at an American Legion baseball game.
All left with a memory they'll never forget. In Wingate, Anna King, WCNC Charlotte.
Happening today, several new laws going into effect for North Carolina, including some that will hit your wallet. WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane now live for us this morning to break down the biggest changes that we are going to see. Richard, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you, Ben. A good Monday morning, all happy new month. That means there are some new laws coming on the books today, and some of them, like Ben just said, will hit you in your wallet, particularly if you want to get a driver's license. That goes up $1 per year, so a 5-year driver's license would be about $5 more. 8 years, $8 more. Now, as we take a look at some video, this is just one of the new laws that are coming into place. Also, your registration for your cars will be going up as well. Starting today, several new laws are taking effect in the Tar Heel State, and a lot of these are going to have effects on many of us. One new law is from a wide-ranging bill that changes the rules for wearing a mask in public. It makes it against the law to do so during protests. Another part of the bill also changes the finance laws, now allowing loopholes on the state's ban on making unlimited or anonymous contributions to a political candidate. The Senate Bill 474 says that each county must now maintain an updated list of eligible voters, like removing those who have died or become felons and are no longer eligible to vote. This was part of the bill that also required a photo ID for voters, which that part has already started. And House Bill 834 states that 16 and 17-year-olds charged with felony crimes would now start in Superior Court instead of juvie court. Some opponents of the law says it erodes the raise your age law that has been on the books since 2019. But there is still a debate on if this law would help reduce juvenile crime.
We need to put some of these kids behind bars because the seriousness of the crimes that they're committing is just escalating.
I think that we have to look at what are the reasons and how can we help truly be safer in our communities. And I don't think locking children up is the answer.
Yeah, there are a lot of people concerned about some of these bills and these new laws, but they go into effect today, including when you're driving down the interstate highway. You might see those billboards. Now companies have the right, the billboard companies, to cut down trees surrounding those billboards so you can get a clearer view of them as you zip up and down the interstate. Just one of the new laws that are going into effect today. We're right here in Uptown. This is Richard Devane. We'll send it back to you.
WCNC Charlotte.
Good morning, Carolinas.
Tune in to the team that's preparing you for your day.
A reminder this morning for folks to stay weather aware.
See the difference in your morning.
It's been a great morning so far. We do have a new incident. This is a disabled vehicle right
Responsible reporting, community-focused, unique content.
Our team staying by, getting you ready for the day.
Check out the picture we got for you. Not a bad view at all.
See the difference. Weekday mornings on WCNC Charlotte.
At 4 o'clock, video just released this afternoon shows the moment a CMPD officer was caught allegedly taking money from a suspect. Listen to this. This happened back in March after a driver was taken into custody on an outstanding warrant. Now, for the first time, we're seeing what unfolded when he was brought to the University Division Patrol Office.
I don't know if it's in your door. I don't know where it's at.
A suspect telling police he believes the officer who arrested him took his cash and stowed it away.
Do you see anything? No, yeah, look, no cap. I'm not even gonna touch it. It's blue hundreds right here. It's all the blue hundreds are right there behind that receipt. Thank you. All that's my money. He didn't have that. This is your money? Yes, I heard him crumble it up. Thank you. Thank you. All that's that ain't my money. Right? That's my money. That's my money right there.
The cash uncovered with a receipt inside the driver's side door of Officer Henry Chapman's patrol vehicle. We are not identifying the suspect because his charges are irrelevant to this situation.
I seen you steal. No, sir.
The suspect claiming the officer stole around $1,000 in cash and recounting what happened.
I heard him tampering with that rubber band.
Okay.
That rubber band was on that money because my girlfriend gave me the money this morning.
It was then police quickly escorted Officer Chapman into another room. An immediate investigation was launched. And following the interview, Officer Chapman was arrested and charged with 1 count of embezzlement. He resigned the next day. CMPD's internal investigation found 2 violations in this incident, the taking of money and another violation related to his body camera. Chapman is expected in court next month.
Time now to connect the dots. When we make the news make sense. It's hot here in the Carolinas, that's for sure, and as temperatures continue to rise with no end in sight, it's more than just the heat that's making farmers sweat. High temperatures and dry conditions are taking a toll on farmers and everybody's wallet. Let's connect the dots. So far through June, North Carolina has seen several days with temperatures in the 90s and little to no rain. It means big cash crops are withering, including soybeans, peanuts, and even tobacco, which helped farmers cover their losses in the past. Some farmers say they even stopped tending to crops like potatoes and corn. And these losses eventually get passed on to all of us. Experts predict shoppers could end up paying 25% more for groceries this year because of worldwide drought. And that is connecting the dots.
Wake up to the news that matters most with meteorologist and traffic reporter Chris Mulcahy.
And we're all clear. We're keeping you smarter, safer, and on time.
Start your day the Mulcahy way. See the difference. 4:30 to 7 on WCNC Charlotte.
Well, some folks have been struggling to keep up with credit card payments. If that's you, or maybe you're just looking to build credit, some people will turn to credit builder products.
But not all builders are created with good intentions. WCNC Charlotte's Jane Monreal has some things to look out for so you're not left asking, where's the money?
Wallet Hub says these credit card builder products prey on people desperately working to fix their credit. They promise a customer something in exchange for money, but in most instances, those promises are left unfilled. Christy Mathern, an editor at Wallet Hub, says after studying 22 credit builder products, they found many operating under a shady premise.
They do things like, for instance, they'll give you a sort of debit card to use instead of a credit line, but then they report a credit line to credit bureaus. So that's kind of gaming the system a little bit.
Mathern says many times people with no credit or bad credit assume they can't make a monthly payment, so they're tempted to utilize these credit building sites to skip over late payments. She says while there are some legitimate sites, the best and easiest way to build credit is to open a credit card and make payments on time.
If you pay your bill off every month, you will not pay a dime if it's a card with no annual fee.
However, if you are struggling with those monthly payments, Mathern suggests getting a secured credit card.
What it is a credit line, but it's secured with a deposit that you pay up front. So your credit line is equal to your deposit, but you can still get negative information with these cards. You can miss a payment and it's reported as a late payment. It does build your credit.
Mathern says if you opt for a credit building product, there are some things you need to look out for. Be cautious of any product that asks you to pay an exorbitant fee or claims they don't report any negative information to credit bureaus. Back to you.
According to the CDC, drowning is the leading cause of death for children ages 1 to 4. And a family from Dallas, North Carolina almost fell into this stat with their 2-year-old daughter. This is a story every parent should see after a family's pool party narrowly avoided a tragedy. But the parents say thanks to CPR, the outcome here was truly a miracle.
Well, it was Memorial Day.
You having fun? A pool party turning into a nightmare for Matthew and Amy Shortridge.
I mean, of course, bad things can happen, but I never, ever in my life
Enjoy Memorial Day?
thought that would happen at my pool with my kids.
The parents of 3 said after swimming for a couple hours, they took 2-year-old Mila out of the pool for the day. Then, the unthinkable.
Something just clicked to me. I need to say her name.
Mila's 10-year-old sister, Adeline, making the shocking discovery.
I had heard my older daughter, Adeline, screaming out my youngest daughter's name. She just screamed, Mila!
Mila, Mila.
I knew immediately that blood-curdling scream, what that meant.
Matthew saw Mila floating in the pool.
I immediately jumped into the pool. I've never seen anything quite like it in my life. I turned her over, and in my hands, I held my 2.5-year-old baby's limp, lifeless, blue-gray body.
She looked completely dead.
Matthew, a nurse anesthetist, immediately got to work.
We started CPR, and I just began to pray, God, please, please open up the lungs of my child. Please let me get some air in her.
I just was shocked that something that severe had just happened when we were all adults were sitting by the pool.
Their minds began to race.
How did I allow this to happen?
After seconds go by, and those seconds feel like minutes, that it's not working, she's not breathing. And you feel so hopeless, like, is she gonna breathe again?
There for a split second, I thought we were going to be a family of 4 instead of 5.
But in that moment, they turned their panic into prayer.
All of a sudden, I noticed her eyes opened. At that point in time, I saw her blink, and I thought, there's life. And I remember rearing back and saying, there's life, there's life. I felt her whimper and cry.
When I heard that, my heart just filled with joy so much that she was saved and she was alive.
When EMS arrived, Matthew said he rode in the ambulance with little Mila. He began to sing to his baby, a song they sing every night.
It isn't any trouble just to S-M-I-L-E. And she began to spell S-M-I-L-E. And I knew, I started crying. I said, God, you've saved my baby. And I remember just thanking God.
The family, so thankful Mila has made a full recovery.
Anybody that has children, get CPR training. If you are babysitting children, if you are a worker at a church or a school, you should have CPR training. If you are a parent of a child, you should have CPR training. I truly believe it's a miracle. I call her my miracle Mila. Miracles still happen. I believe that.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
And they said they have a new rule now in their house that anytime the kids are swimming, they are going to be in the pool with them. But thank goodness little Mila is okay.
I mean, the thing is, I'm sure they feel guilt and everything, but they shouldn't. I mean, something like that can happen so quickly, and that's that's the
parents
biggest
all
thing.
around the pool.
Yeah,
adults all around the pool. It can happen in a second, and they wanted to share their story to hopefully help save another life.
Yeah, wow, that's like out of a movie right there.
It is.
Happy.
The Today Show is going to be featuring them this morning too at 7:40.
Oh, is that right?
Yep. This morning they're going to be sharing their story.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
great.
7:40.
WCNC Charlotte's Weather Impact Team delivers when weather will change, what impacts to expect, and what you need to stay safe.
To the interior room.
Stay aware of weather that impacts you by downloading the WCNC News app now.
Just a couple of hours ago, President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden wrapped up their visit in Raleigh.
And I know how to do this job. I know how to get things done. And I know, like millions of Americans know, when you get knocked down, you get back up.
Today's rally in this pivotal swing state follows a widely panned performance during last night's presidential debate.
Yeah, and in that first face-off with former President Donald Trump this election season, Biden stumbled over his words and at times seemed confused.
WCNC Charlotte's Julia Kaufman is in Raleigh with what voters there are saying tonight.
Yeah, people we spoke with here are feeling confident after Biden's rally and are standing behind his debate performance, while some others on the other side of the aisle are questioning his mental state. Supporters leaving Biden's rally in Raleigh are in high spirits.
I really think that people will have inspiration from it.
I'm really hoping out of this that people still have faith.
People are calling Biden's competency into question after Thursday's presidential debate.
I'm more concerned that he's compromised, like, mentally.
Raleigh Republicans think Trump outperformed the president.
There's, like, no way I think that guy can perform at the level needed for 4 more years.
Democrats tell us it's not about the performance, but the substance.
I think Biden clearly won because he was the only one speaking the truth.
Voters on both sides may differ on several issues, but many we spoke with agree on this.
I think there's a next generation out there that they probably should have welcomed in maybe this cycle.
They wish there were different candidates on stage.
I think we all feel like pretty bad that we're in this spot where we're voting for these folks.
Because of concerns over both candidates, people tell me they'll be looking at who they choose to surround themselves with if they're reelected. In Raleigh, Julia Kaufman, WCNC Charlotte.
Weather impacts everything. Stay prepared with WCNC Charlotte's Weather Impact Team.
That is one ominous looking storm.
Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich and the entire Weather Impact Team delivers the wind.
Sunday and Wednesday are going to feel the hottest.
The impact.
Winds 60 miles an hour.
And what you need to stay safe and weather aware.
To the interior room, away from those outside walls and windows.
Stay aware of weather that impacts you by downloading the WCNC News app now.
Now turning back to the serious situation unfolding right now in the Caribbean. At this hour, Hurricane Beryl remains a Category 5 storm. Now for some context here, folks, this is the earliest Cat 5 on record. Right now, Beryl is charging towards Jamaica after decimating the Windward Islands. This is some of the video we're getting in showing the wind there. So far, at least 2 people have been killed. Let's go ahead and bring in meteorologist Chris Mulcahy. Keeping an eye on the tropics. I mean, this is awfully early to see a storm this strong.
2 months ahead of schedule, Ben. 2 months ahead of schedule that we usually see our first major hurricane. Also, Category 5s don't usually happen this time of year. The last time that we did this, 2005, that was the year of Katrina. Let's get right to the big info. The most recent update was at 11 a.m. Now it's going to be at the point every 3 hours there'll be an update. Once it gets within 24 hours of Jamaica, we're going to really see these hourly updates. The peak this morning was 165 mile per hour winds. Now it's 160. Once it goes to 155, it's a strong Category 4, and that's likely going to happen a little bit later on today. Winds at 140, still a strong Category 4 hurricane. But then once it drops down below that 130 mark, then we're going to be talking about Category 3. That's still a major hurricane. And the way that this works is this is going to be the rotation, so it goes counterclockwise. So once the winds line up with the direction it's going, that's called the dirty side of the storm. So that means the southern part of Jamaica is not only going to have the strongest part of the hurricane, it's going to be the strongest part of a major hurricane. This is a deadly, deadly storm, and I hate to see it this time of year. Thoughts and prayers for Jamaica over the next 24 to 36 hours. It'll be much weaker still as a hurricane, likely passing the Yucatan Peninsula and then moving into the central parts of Mexico as a tropical storm. This is going to be a historic one, and the way that it's shaping up could be our first retired name of 2024. Of course, we won't find out that for about another year or so. We're just beginning the season where Category 5s have only happened 41 times since 1924. So the last time, Emily, 2005 is a name that refused to be retired, but that hit a peak of 160 mile per hour winds. By the way, 165 mile per hour winds, that ties for the 25th strongest storm any time of year, regardless of the time. So it's only twice in history that we've had this happen in July. Let's focus in on the good. It's today. The pick of the week is today, where high temperatures are stuck in the mid to the upper 80s. You're going to be begging for a day like this a couple days from now. Yes, the 4th of July is super cool, but it's not going to be cool because temperatures are going to be thriving, jumping up about 10 degrees from where they're at today. 84 in Hickory, 76 near perfection for you up in Boone. We're picking up a few upper level clouds. We'll also have a mix of a few more clouds by the end of the day, but all in all, a sunny to a mostly sunny one, where by the middle of the afternoon, 86 feels like, guess what? 86. That is not something that I'm going to be mentioning over the next few afternoons because the temperature is going to be skewed because of how humid it's really going to be. Lows over the next 4 mornings. It was cool this morning. It'll be cool tomorrow morning. Then temperatures are right back to the lower 70s where we reasonably see them this time of year on Thursday, and then the mid 70s on Friday and Saturday. So our hour by hour temperature forecast for tomorrow, it's starting to feel a little bit more roasty. Temperatures back into the lower 90s, and yeah, winds anywhere from about 4 to 8 miles per hour. But our dew point forecast, this is the big one. It's going to be thriving, jumping up to that air you can wear status by your 4th of July, and we'll stick that status heading into the weekend. That also correlates with our rain chances, where Friday and the 4th might have an isolated storm, but it's really Saturday through Monday that you have a scatter to a likely chance for these storms. So here's what it looks like. Popping up a storm or two. This is 1 o'clock on the 4th. Maybe a quick downpour, but most of the areas you can see should be just fine. So you're going to be unlucky if your grill gets poured on, but if it does happen, it shouldn't last long. That's the good news. So our Guy Roofing 7-day forecast shows that we have to be weather aware for excessive heat and humidity Thursday through this coming Saturday. Still a chance for storms heading to early next week.
Well, Joey, it took a record 5 overtimes to get this race settled. Take me through that finish and how you stretched, what fuel you had.
Yeah, it's a lot of intensity for a long time. I'm looking at the scoreboard now. It says 330. It's 30 extra laps that was not planned on, and just proud of the team. It took everybody for this one, as it does every win. But you know, when you think about the mileage we had to get with Roush Yates, our fuel man, Nick Hensley, Paul having the cojones to make it happen. Definitely, the risk was worth it today.
First win of the season outside of the All-Star race. This one locks you into the playoffs. What a relief is that for you and this team, and how good does it feel to get that first points win of the year?
It's huge. Just to be able to click one off and lock into the playoffs, like you said, it's so stressful when you're on that line. It's nice to be able to catch our breath for a couple weeks and prepare for the playoffs. So, yeah, we still got work to do, but we're definitely making gains on the speed department as well.
What is a day like this like for you? You have the heat, then you have the rain delay, then you have 5 overtimes. So how do you pace yourself on a day like this?
Yeah, I'm severely dehydrated at the moment. It's really, really hot, and obviously a very long race, and you're sweating a lot inside the race car. And yeah, glad it's over. Glad I'm here.
You got a nice Gibson guitar as your trophy here. Any tunes you're going to be playing on that?
Not by me. You know anybody?
I don't, but we're going to have to find somebody.
I can't play. Hardy was here earlier. He can play.
That's true.
That would be cool.
All right, we're looking at you, Hardy. Come play this guitar. You got an invite from Joey Logano. Joey, congrats on the win. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Time now is about 6:36. This morning, we're talking about your summer vacation plans and how much folks are willing to spend to make them happen. We're following a new survey from Bankrate. It found that about 53% of Americans are planning to take a summer vacation. And of those who plan to travel, 1 in 3 are willing to go into debt just to pay for it. The survey found that about 62% of us will pay for our summer plans using a credit card. More than half of them will pay it all in full, while others will opt for carrying that balance over multiple billing cycles. And our willingness to go into debt for vacation, well, it might depend on which generation you fall in. 47% of millennials said they are willing to go into debt, compared to just 22% of baby boomers. But not everyone is leaning into the summer of spending anyway. Nearly 3 in 10 adults are choosing to skip a vacation this year to save some money. But we're taking the question to you this morning. Do you plan on taking a summer vacation this year? Make sure you text us 704-329-3600. We're going to show your responses right here on the broadcast, starting with Linda B. She says ditch the summer vacay and travel in spring instead. She adds the summer months are just too hot to travel. Of course, keep texting us 704-329-3600.
WCNC Charlotte. Tune in to the team that's preparing you for your day with the latest weather, detailed traffic, and stories that help you get ahead by saving you money. See the difference. Weekday mornings on WCNC Charlotte.
Time now to connect the dots. When we make the news make sense. This morning, there are growing calls for President Joe Biden to leave the 2024 presidential race. But what would that actually look like if it did in fact happen?
Changing the name of the Democratic candidate on the ballot this November would require a difficult process, but it's not impossible. Let's connect the dots. If the leading candidate were to drop out of the campaign at this point, delegates would select a new nominee during the Democratic convention. And since the convention isn't until August, there is still time for that to happen. There are more than 3,900 delegates, and almost every single one of them has already pledged their support to Mr. Biden. So if he were to drop out, it would be mostly Biden supporters picking his replacement. If that were to happen, his spot on your ballot wouldn't automatically go to Vice President Kamala Harris. Experts believe California Governor Gavin Newsom or even North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper are names the Democratic Party could call up. And that is connecting the dots.
While school is out, the preparation for next year is already underway. The Levine Museum of the New South is helping teachers get ahead by providing some hands-on resources.
WCNC Charlotte's Nick Sturdivant takes a closer look at this program and how students can prevent a summer slide.
Filling the gap.
So they really wanted to create that resource that helps students make a connection between local and state history.
For both students and educators is the goal. Lindsay Fairbrother-Henneggy, Director of School Programs at Levine Museum of the New South, says a team of educators came together to create online case studies to help supplement curriculum.
Based on North Carolina, local Charlotte history. 8th graders in North Carolina are doing U.S. history, so they wanted to kind of bridge that gap. That was their idea.
This is not the only way the museum is helping bridge the gap, especially for teachers.
This is the second year that we've actually done standalone workshops. The teachers create them. They put them on themselves. The EAG members, they are the instructors.
This year, the museum hosting its free inaugural Summer Institute workshops for educators.
They get to connect with each other. They get to refresh their practice. They're very skills-based workshops. They're taking that and it's going to impact the hundreds of students that they teach next year.
While educators in our area sharpen their skills in the classroom, students can do the same.
I know any teacher in Charlotte would tell you they've known that
for many, many years. Every single summer, kids go away and they come back having lost a lot of what they learned the year before.
Brandon Cardette Hernandez with Mrs. Wordsmith, which provides educational games and products for kids, says during the summer, children can lose 1/5 of the reading skills they learned the previous school year.
Parents are going to hear this story and they're going to ask, what can I do?
So parents shouldn't feel like they have to turn their living room into a classroom. I have a 6-year-old who's learning those early reading skills, right? Like how to decode a word. You know, we also do competitions in our house just to expand vocabulary. We choose a word a day, and then we just create a competition around who is able to use that word the most.
And he says another good way to prevent summer brain drain, taking time to read with your child. Now, for a closer look at these tips, along with resources from the Levine Museum of the New South, head over to our website, WCNC.com, or the News app.
WCNC Charlotte's Weather Impact Team delivers when weather will change, what impacts to expect, and what you need to stay safe.
To the interior room.
Stay aware of weather that impacts you by downloading the WCNC News app now.
We're back tonight with a story of love, loss, and resilience. We sat down with Kelly Weeks, the widow of U.S. Deputy Marshal Thomas Weeks, who was one of the 4 officers killed in an ambush back in April.
Now, she described Tommy, as everyone knew him, as a man with an infectious smile and love for life. WCNC Charlotte's Sarah French asked how Kelly is finding strength from the community and what her plans are to continue Tommy's legacy.
Memories of Tommy Weeks fill this home. A home once shared with his wife, Kelly.
He just loved life. His smile was infectious.
The couple got married in the backyard.
He just absolutely, I don't have any other words than adored me. And, you know, I adored him.
They both had 2 children from prior marriages and created a blended family.
He took them in like his own. He just had this kid-like mentality, so they loved, he would be out in the lake playing in the water with them, he'd be tubing with them. So he was the big kid that did all the fun stuff. He just brought a lot of joy to people's lives. I was sitting in my office and one of my coworkers called me and said, hey, I live in Charlotte. They just put us on lockdown because there's an active shooter, and they just said a Deputy U.S. Marshal was involved. Is Tommy down here? And I went, no, he's at the range in Mooresville. And then I looked at his phone was at that address. This was not a normal crime scene. This was a war zone.
Kelly said 30 minutes later, she received a call that Tommy had been shot.
So I had about a 45-minute drive from Lincolnton to the hospital.
15 minutes after arriving to the hospital, Kelly was told Tommy didn't make it.
Looking around the room at the other deputy marshals that were there and seeing the emotion in their faces, and they're worried about me, and then I'm worried about them. These people are heroes. There's no other word for them. And they're struggling just as much as I am, and they need just as much love and support as I get.
Tommy's absence now leaving a void in Kelly's life.
We went grocery shopping together. We worked out the gym together. Every fabric of my life involved him.
When deciding if the funeral would be broadcast and if she would speak, Kelly says she went back and forth.
And then I decided that it was the only way I could truly get a message out. But before this tragedy, he was already a hero to me and our family. And it was my chance to tell the world who he was.
When you spoke and everyone in the newsroom was like, wow, that is a strong woman.
Everybody talked about how strong I was during the speech. But then if you saw me 2 seconds later when Director Davis handed me the flag, you know, it was full on ugly cry, you know, it was no holding it back. I was so focused on getting through that speech that as soon as it was done and I sat down, it was almost like this flood came over me. Everywhere. You can just see all the stuff that we've gotten.
What sustains Kelly now is the outpouring of love and support she's received from the community.
The outpour from the community, I think also is what really reminds me that people do care. It's about the letters and the cards, and that's what gives me hope. You know, I think our legacy will forever be that making the positive out of negative, turning that around. I don't want his death to bring sadness, because that's not who he was. I tell his daughter all the time, the best way to honor your father is to live your life and live it happily.
Kelly says she wants to continue Tommy's legacy with Back the Blue fundraisers and events, as well as a scholarship in Tommy's name. For WCNC Charlotte, I'm Sarah French.
Powerful interview there. You can find our full reporting, by the way, on April's deadly officer ambush and how to support the families of those fallen officers on our website and inside our mobile app. And right now, our Verify team is looking into your right to act if you ever come across a child or pet locked in a hot car. We know those temps are getting dangerously high this weekend, and just days ago, a child died after being locked in a hot car here in Charlotte. WCNC Charlotte's Nick Sturdivant verifies how you're allowed to respond.
So far, 5 children across the country have died after being left in a hot vehicle, 2 of those right here in the Carolinas. But what should you do if you stumble across a child or pet locked in a hot vehicle? Let's get the facts. Our sources are Matthews Police PIO Tim Aycock, attorney Gary Monty, South Carolina law and North Carolina law. In both North and South Carolina, you are protected by law to break or enter a vehicle if you notice a person in distress and in need of immediate medical attention.
You're not going to be liable for breaking and entering or any type of a criminal offense if you walk by a vehicle and you see a human being inside of the vehicle that is in obvious physical distress.
But could the owner of the car still sue you if you break open a window to save a person from a locked vehicle? Monty says technically yes, but the chances of the lawsuit going anywhere is very thin.
I don't see a